Breaking Quarantine by Gail Hulnick. The rain drills against the window pane, rattling like coffee beans poured into a metal tin. On a different day, in a different time, the sound might give Kayla a headache, but today she welcomes it. In a different time, she might open that window to see and hear life on the street, 4 stories down. People hustling along the sidewalk, some huddled under umbrellas, the water pouring down to the gutters and into the river that is the road. Delivery trucks double parking in front of doorways, their windshield wipers setting a rhythm like a metronome. Yellow taxis darting through the stream like tropical fish. Horns honking, drivers shouting. Today she hears and sees nothing. Except for the rain, the streets of New York are empty and almost silent. No one shouts, no trucks grind their gears, no horns honk. The only sounds come from this April storm. It has been more than 5 weeks since the global pandemic was declared. That's the way they say it. The pandemic was declared. Some people say that was admitted to would be a better term. Kayla has read news reports that the coronavirus was first observed 5 or 6 months ago, and that the authorities were too slow in taking action to stop its spread. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying. Hospitals can't cope with the rising tide of need, and those who survive go through misery before emerging on the other side. Other articles say that the people in charge moved too fast, that the reaction is hysterical, and that the economic casualties from this lockdown will be worse than the illness. Hundreds of thousands might die from COVID-19, the respiratory disease caused by the virus, yes. Millions might get sick. But putting an entire city, a country, a globe into quarantine. Kayla's brain almost bruises from the effort of comprehending what's happened and of trying to form an opinion about it. She tears herself away from the drama on her window pane and goes to the kitchen to open another box of macaroni and cheese. She has been cooking and eating in for 5 weeks. This is a nightmare for a New Yorker. No restaurants and no movies, no concerts, no travel, no bookstores, no hair salons, no shopping, no friends, no parties, no getting together just to talk, no walking in the park unless you're exercising. Keep moving. Don't stop to greet anyone. Stay 6 feet apart. Only members of one household can be together, and if anybody is sick, stay 6 feet away from them, too. These are the quarantine rules. She has watched thousands of hours of TV. After catching up on the movies and series she'd never been able to find time for when her life was normal, she has settled into a habit of looking for glitzy travel shows featuring luxury hotels and glorious views. And yachts. The more yachts, the better. She tries to pretend that her small apartment is a suite in a resort, but this is definitely a workout for her imagination. Her elaborate, elegant meal is ready and the microwave oven beeps, just as her cell phone rings. Kayla glances at the call display. Grandma. She grabs a fork and sits down to have dinner with her grandmother. So, how is everything going? I'm good, Gran. How are you? All is well here too, Kayla. I have books to read and I'm watching lots of TV. An echo of Kayla's days and nights. Endless TV, movies about impossible missions, and documentaries about European travel. Are you getting lonely, Gran? Are you, Kayla? That's a no-brainer. Kayla hasn't been near another human being for more than 10 seconds, in over a month. She's had video calls for work, but that is nothing like the real thing. The bosses seem to be fumbling around, trying to figure it out and make it less weird, at the same time as having many secret discussions about layoffs, Kayla is pretty sure. Or pretty paranoid. Do you have everything you need? Your groceries and so on? All of Kayla's shopping is done online. When it arrives, she gets a text. The delivery is left at the door, and the delivery person scuttles away like a bug suddenly exposed to light. Kayla is not usually a chatty person with strangers or acquaintances, but after 5 weeks she craves even a wolf whistle from a creep on a construction site. My neighbor Gloria picks up my things when she goes to get hers, Gran said. How about you? Are you eating right? Make sure you give yourself a little treat now and then. Chocolate, am I right? I don't think we could have made it through the war if we hadn't had chocolate. Kayla wonders whether her grandmother is going to compare the COVID-19 quarantine to the sacrifices of World War II. She's seen other 95-year-olds interviewed online commenting on the difference between this epidemic and the 40s, when people were dodging bombs, losing loved ones, being injured or killed. In this spring of 2020, the only thing that people are being asked to do is stay home and sit on a couch. "Oh yes, lots of chocolate," Kayla laughs, "but we don't have nearly as much to go through now as you did then, Gran. I know that." She takes a mouthful of pasta, savoring the comforting taste of the melted cheese. "We just have to stay at home, only go outside to get fresh air, on the balcony or in the yard if you have one. Obviously, there's quite a difference in experiences depending on how much money you've got, but at least there's no danger of bombs." "No, but there is still danger now with this quarantine," Gran says. "Just as serious a danger as a bomb, maybe worse." Kayla thinks for a moment. "Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. What if you get sick?" "I've read news stories in the media about people getting sick, and in 4 days they're so tired they can't walk to the refrigerator. They are coughing, sneezing, have a high temperature, can't smell or taste anymore." "Yeah, Gran, I'm scared. I don't think I have any of the symptoms, but I don't know. I don't have a thermometer. Do you have a thermometer, Gran? Are you taking your temperature?" "I wasn't talking about the fear of getting sick, Kayla." "But that's what this is all about, isn't it? We're in quarantine and in a lockdown because everyone is afraid of getting sick, of dying. We could die, Gran." "I'm not afraid of dying, Kayla." "Come on, Gran, nobody wants to die." "Not saying I want to, dear. I said I'm not afraid of it. It's just a change of address as far as I'm concerned," Gran says. "But we're not talking about sickness and dying. We're talking about your mood, your optimism." "Oh, that," Kayla says, nibbling at her cheesy noodles so that Gran won't hear her eating. "My mental health." "I'm good, Gran. I have pasta and chocolate." "Don't kid yourself," Gran says. "Pasta and chocolate can't fix loneliness." The silence that follows her grandmother's statement fills the room, and for a flash of a second, it's as if Gran is in the room with her, arms reaching out to pull her in for a hug, her familiar face, wreathed by silver hair and defined by eyes as blue as the Caribbean, smiling with concern. "Yeah, I'm lonely, Gran," Kayla says. "Isn't everybody?" "It's not that serious, though. It's not like bombs dropping." "Yes, it is, Kayla, yes, it is. It's exactly like bombs dropping. You don't know when it's going to start and overpower everything else you're doing or thinking, and you don't know when it's going to end, or if it's ever going to end. What about you, Gran? Aren't you lonely?" "No, Kayla, I'm not, and if you're wondering whether I miss your grandfather or wish we hadn't divorced, I don't." Kayla swallowed hard and then asked the question. "I always wondered what happened, Gran. He stopped loving me, and he left me alone, all the time. There was just so much pain, and after a while I realized I couldn't take any more. I'd rather be here by myself than living in a loveless marriage or in one of those stationary cruise ships that they call an assisted living community," Gran says. "I don't plan to need any assistance for a long time." Kayla can feel her throat aching, and she knows she has to get off the phone soon. But she has one more fear to share. "I'm used to being alone, Gran. I live alone. I choose to live alone. And most of the time I'm okay with it. But sometimes, yeah, it's not the greatest. Sometimes I think I'll never find love." This time it is Kayla's statement that hangs in the air. Then, "You don't have to find it," Gran says. "It finds you." After she gets off the phone, Kayla reaches for the chocolates box and turns on the TV. She's binge-watching round the clock, and she's given up on pretending to keep any sort of normal schedule. There is no one here to notice that she's worn the same pajamas for a week or that she's barely moved in the past 6 hours. Most of the time, she doesn't feel any actual fear of getting sick, and she manages to use the countless hours of TV series and movies to distract herself. But every once in a while, she imagines a swath of germs, thanks to the photo they're constantly showing online, a green vapor emerging from a coughing person's face and spreading through the air, landing on a surface and staying there, infecting all who cross its path for 72 hours or more. Her go-to method of dealing with that is to try to imagine something else, something better. One of the online wellness blogs she follows recommended going to her happy place in her mind, and at least once or twice a day she travels back through time to a week she spent last winter at a beach resort. Blue sky, turquoise water, sunshine. It doesn't work. She needs to get a thermometer. For an hour, she agonizes over the fact that she was never adult enough to think of buying one in the pre-COVID days, and then weighs the value of having one against the danger of going out. Then Kayla decides. She dresses in a heavy coat, long pants, boots, gloves, hat, and face mask. At the pharmacy, she marches over to the rack of thermometers, grabs one and heads for a cashier, avoiding other people and trying to maintain social distance, as the public health people are advising everyone to do. 6 feet away. How far is 6 feet anyway? She doesn't know. Best just to hope she doesn't have to see anybody other than the clerk behind the counter. That's new. The counter now has a plastic shield stretching 3 feet high with a hole carved midway for money and items to be exchanged. She nods at the cashier and gets a nod back. Did she smile? Did Kayla? With the face masks, who would know? As soon as she is home, Kayla calls Gran. I just got back. I went out to get a thermometer so I can find out if I'm sick. Gran sighs. Don't obsess about it, dear. If you catch this thing and you need to go to a hospital, you'll find out soon enough. I suppose. Still, it makes me feel better to know that I can use the thermometer and have the information. There's nobody else here to tell me if I look like I'm getting really sick. Maybe it would have been better if she and Julian were still together. Kayla sent away her most recent boyfriend because they just weren't a permanent fit. What if? It's as if Gran read her mind. You'll meet somebody else, Kayla. You had too many doubts about Julian. But what if I don't meet anyone else ever again? Maybe I should have hung on to him. Maybe it would have been easier to live through all this coronavirus crap. No, Gran says. It's never easier to pretend. After they chat for a few more minutes about the books they're reading and the shows they're watching, Kayla says goodbye and sits down with a cup of tea. Kayla wonders about some of the people she has seen many times in her neighborhood. Where have they been? The woman in the wheelchair who bought magazines and gum at the corner newsstand, abandoned since the end of March. The man with the white cane who walked down the block with his pet spaniel. The 2 children she often saw wearing backpacks and chasing each other down the street. The drivers of the yellow cabs, the delivery vans pulling up in front of the corner deli, even the police cars cruising by on a Saturday night. Where are they all tonight? She walks back and forth past her window, looking out to the empty street. She could go out to the balcony to expand her real estate just a little, but it's freezing out there. How long will she have to continue with this isolation? She hasn't actually been anywhere she might have been exposed to it. No international travel, no crossing of borders, carrying back germs, no exposure to anyone with a known case of COVID-19. She has no symptoms, no coughing, no sneezing, no shortness of breath, no fever, but she feels she has a duty to stay in. She might be sick, she might get sick, the epidemic might continue to spread and grow, and things might never return to normal. She has to shelter in place, as they call it. Stay at home, stay safe, self-isolate, self-quarantine, live in lockdown. She feels ready to chew off an arm. Kayla stares through the window for what feels like another 6 hours. Maybe she should get a pet. But it's not a cat or a dog she wants. It's a man. What she needs is love. Touching, kissing, holding hands. She wants a man who adores her, one she can adore right back. In the 6th week, Kayla stares through her window yet again, but this time she's not depressed anymore. She's angry. She contemplates going out, defying the rules. Maybe she catches it, maybe not. Maybe it would only be a mild case. But what if it weren't? Or what if she passed it on to someone else who didn't get a mild case? What if some old person got it from her and couldn't fight it off? The guilt would kill her, even if the virus didn't. Of course, this is not the first pandemic in history. Smallpox, cholera, plague. Entire cities in Europe were wiped out. Millions of people died. But did they have to live days, weeks, months with no human touch? Isn't she dying already, in a way? She's close to losing it. She knows. She needs some human contact, and video calls just aren't a substitute anymore. How much of a crime would it be, really, if she just went out for a little while? What if it were for a date? Night has come on, with Kayla barely noticing the gathering darkness. She sees her reflection in the window. There's a smile on her face, probably the first one in a week. What if it were for a date? But what if everybody did that? What if the pandemic continued to grow and spread with that laser green swath of germs exploding because of her irresponsible dating? She feels doomed. We are all doomed. It is the apocalypse. She misses voices. God, she misses voices. Real voices, not the filtered ones emanating from her TV set or her computer. She misses faces full size, not miniatures like on her phone screen. Sometimes those images remind her of the faces on cards in a deck. The Jack, the Queen, the King. Weird. She is thinking too much. Call Gran. Tell me some more about the war years, Kayla says. Were you lonely then? I had friends, Gran says. We didn't have to stay alone or worry about germs. In a way, it was a very loving, sexy time. People had the sense that a bomb could fall on them at any moment, or they'd get orders to ship out, or their fiancé was leaving to go into battle. This could be their last chance, their last night on Earth, ever. We made the most of the time we had. Kayla gulps her tea. I feel like time is slipping away on me. Don't let it, dear, Gran says. Don't let it. They end the call, and Kayla goes to her stove, intending to start the kettle for yet another cup of tea. She stops, then goes to the closet by the front door instead. She puts on her coat, hat, gloves, and face mask. Don't let it. The door appears to her to be the size of a massive castle gate, and for a moment she can't bring herself to turn the knob and open it. She hasn't been anywhere outside this 700-square-foot apartment in almost 6 weeks, other than to the pharmacy that one time. What do they call that? Ag something? But something is calling her, and she is beginning to feel almost desperate. She unbolts all the locks, yanks the door open, then reels backwards slightly at the sight of the empty hallway. The territory beyond her door is as intimidating as a dark alley at 3 a.m. But she won't stop now. The elevator arrives instantly and sets up a noisy clatter on the way down, almost as if it has barely moved in 6 weeks either. Kayla makes it down to the lobby and then out through the front door. She stares at the full moon, the same moon that they're seeing in many other places. It is so beautiful, yet terrifying. What is she doing out here? She knows she should turn and run back to her apartment, but she is frozen. Can she move? What should she do? The sidewalk feels slippery, and her feet feel disconnected from the rest of her body, her ankles unused to bending. There are so many more garbage bags pushed up against the street signs than usual. There is almost no sound, no traffic. 3 birds suddenly zoom down into the street just a few feet from her face. She jerks back, startled, then watches as they fly up toward the streetlight. They catch an air current and zip back down toward her. She flaps her hands in the space around her as if she wanted to swat at a particularly aggressive fly or mosquito. A very large fly. It's as if these 3 birds have thoughts. Are they coming at her on purpose? All of a sudden, it is all too much. What is she doing out here? How long does she have to go on like this, feeling so sad and trying not to? She can't anymore. She just can't. Kayla feels that awful ache in her throat again, and then she's horrified. She's sobbing on a New York street. What the hell? Just walk away from them. The voice comes from behind her. Someone else has just walked out of the building. She turns and has just a few seconds to register that he is tall, about her age, with dark hair, a beard, and a kind smile before he pulls up his face mask. Are you afraid of birds? Usually in New York she would not talk to a person she didn't know, but that was back in the day when there were so many of them, shoulder to shoulder, packing the subways and the sidewalks. There were so many opportunities all the time to see human faces, 3-dimensional faces, noses, eyes, foreheads, hair, mouths. Now she has seen only screens for weeks, and the pull of a human face makes her answer his question, even though all her training as a New Yorker pushes against it. "I'm not afraid of them," Kayla says, "but I don't like them much." "No, neither do I," he says, "but they probably don't have much good to say about us either." "They should go find their own place then," Kayla says. "This is our street." "They might think the same thing. Somebody's going to have to blink." "We're playing chicken with birds?" Kayla laughs. She thinks she can tell from his cheekbones above the mask that he is smiling again, and she hopes that he can see that she's smiling too. Their eyes meet. "Are you breaking out of jail?" he asks. "I know I shouldn't, but—" "I won't tell," he says. He holds his phone out at arm's length, and she holds hers. There is the required 6 feet of social distance. They tap, and they have each other's names and numbers. "Write to me," he says. "Text you?" Kayla asks. "I want you to write to me," he says. She inhales and feels her breath catch, but it has nothing to do with the sobbing that came with the breaking point she had earlier, when she was alone. Happy and sad often show up in the same way. This is definitely happy, and she has a feeling, a certainty about a face that she's never had before. Is it possible to belong with someone before you even know them? And that was Breaking Quarantine, one of the Resorting to Short Stories collection by Gail Hulnick. Please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more stories uploaded here.